the road. I wanted to do a video to speak on astrology. Like in the future, I'm sure I'll put together a class, different modules, an outline, material and texts and lectures to bring somebody into the sacred science of astrology. Some precursors, some introduction material. Before even going into the history of it, I think we all have an idea of what astrology is. And we might have a different view of it depending on what tradition we came out of. Namely, if you came out of the Christian tradition, one most likely has a negative view of astrology, and this is due to their teachings that they received and ignorance of what astrology is through no fault of their own. Often it's the environment that we find ourselves in. Now, we also have the more scientific, materialistic view on astrology as it being illogical, not real. And then again, this would be due to mainly ignorance and oft times through no fault of their own. I mean, even if you just looked at it from an outward view on astrology, you see it uses geometry, math, amongst other measuring in time and space and its relations to these objects, and so it has scientific, materialistic, scientific aspects to it. Now, another one that I come across, and I think about it often sometimes, is mostly this will come from the spiritual people who perhaps are into yoga and stuff like that, but when it comes to astrology, they have a hard time, as I've had a hard time, having the idea that everything is written out for us, and it loses. They fear that we lose our freedom of our expression of will, of our exercise of will, and if you take the predestined route of astrology, ideology, you can say, well, everything's already written out, and therefore I have no say in the matter. And that's never taught in astrology. We're born into this world under certain situations and circumstances, and this would be due to the law of cause and effect, consequences for our actions in previous existences, perhaps. And because of that law of action and consequence, of dharma, karma, of what we reap is what we sow, that lays out the framework for this trip around the sun, or however many times you make it around. If you celebrate your birthday, you're celebrating astrology, bro. Or just days, months. When you really get down to it, everything is astrology. In the Pythagorean mystery schools, universities, colleges, they reserved astrology, or they just call it astronomia, as the last of the 7 sacred sciences, and geometry being a precursor, as well as music. And you'll see that these musical chords all go to the sacred septenarium, the sacred 7 of our 7 visible heavenly luminaries, from the moon out to Saturn, likened unto a cube with 6 sides, 6 points. And then on the 7th doth God rested at the place of equilibrium in the middle, the 7th point of the cube. So it's an understanding of our environment and our ability